go over everything that will probably be the most helpful for you to make a decision. We will have another meeting prior to us leaving for the actual trip that'll go into even more detail. So like, this is just to let you know what dates and deadlines are, let you know how you can begin payments, get registered, all that good stuff. So that way you can meet that first deposit. There is a first deposit that has to be made in November. Okay, so we want to give you all the information that you need to make a decision about whether or not you want to do that, because that first deposit, $500 in November, is non-refundable. Okay, so this is to help you make that decision. And then we'll have a meeting. We leave in April, so we'll have a meeting the end of March that'll go over like what to pack, well, like a very, very specific information, where we're going to be, the airline, all that good stuff. So this is just to help you with this initial decision making. For those of you that don't know, I don't know that anybody doesn't know, but for those of you that don't know, I'm Coach Holloway. I'm the school counselor, and I am the trip sponsor, so I head up all things DC. Once we identify which teachers will be going with us, then your scholars will be split up amongst the teachers so that we each have kind of our own group. We're all going to be going together, but it's just easier to kind of like, these are your 10 to watch, these are your 10 to watch, that kind of thing. But anything prior to that, I am your contact. I'm the person you're going to be able to ask. If you did email a teacher or ask questions, they'll just forward it to me, so don't feel like you doing anything wrong if you did that. But this will be our 6th year taking our scholars to DC. We missed a couple years because of COVID, but it's a highlight of my year. It's our favorite thing to do, and the scholars really enjoy it. They love it. They experience so many new things. They're getting this independence, and it's just great. It's a great time. But obviously, I don't want to underestimate or belittle that there is some risk involved with it, right? They're going to be flying. They're going to take a flight that I will not be in control of. They are going to be in public spaces as we're in DC with other tour groups and people and different things like that. But I do want you to take that into account. That's not to scare you or make you, but people are like, well, I didn't know they were going to. Yeah, we're going to be out with everybody else in our groups and with our specific organization, Close Up, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But there is some risk involved. So this is the opportunity to ask those questions so that you can mitigate for like, okay, am I okay with the risk that we will be taking in our scholar going on this trip, okay? All right, so trip dates are April 26th through May 1st. April 26th through May 1st. And so we got about 5 days or 6 days, 5 nights, something like that. The first day of the trip, we will be actually it'll just be the GIA people. Like, it'll be us and the teachers and the kids, and we'll be hanging out, and we'll be going to some museums and different things that aren't on program, which I'll explain what program is a little later. But then the rest of the time, we will be with the Close Up organization. They will be the ones in charge of taking us, or as acting as tour guide the whole time we're there, okay? But April 26th, May 1st, those are your dates for the trip. Go ahead and put that in your calendar. It is on the GIA family calendar, but just so you know. Sorry, can't hear myself. Okay, all right. Moving on. Okay, so Close Up is a nonpartisan organization. They have been in existence for, I want to say last year was over 80 years. They've been in existence doing this trip for high schoolers, for middle schoolers all across the country for years and years and years. They are very well established. It is truly nonpartisan. You're not going to sing your kid and then they're going to espouse all these ideas and all these different things. They're like, these are the facts. This is who these presidents are. This is what this political ideal means, all those different things, and they're explaining the spaces and places that they're at, and really starting these conversations with our scholars so that they're learning. The kids always are shocked that they actually have to learn things on this trip. This is still a school trip. They are going to DC. There is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to go to the mall. We're going to do these things, but they also are going to be in groups, and they will be learning, and they do have booklets that they fill out and things like that along the way. So I always tell them this, but then they always go like, Coach, why are we learning? It's like class. Yes, you're supposed to learn. But Close Up is great for that. They deal with international trips as well. Others, they kind of have this international exchange program where they get kids from different countries that come and learn about the States and vice versa. So just a really great organization. We've had a really good experience with them throughout our time in being with them. But Close Up is the organization. From here on out, if you hear me say Close Up, that's the website and that you're going to be going through to make payments and different things like that. And that is the name of the company that will be in charge of your children while we're in DC, along with us as teachers who will be supervising. Okay? They have a curriculum that they will follow. It's kind of like, I hate to use this example because it's a lot more advanced than that, but you think of kind of like a camp counselor and they have like their group of kids. However, instead of this being like college students, these are like whole grown adults with PhDs and like people who really know their subjects, and they've got, you know, all the credentials and things of that nature. And so they'll have a group of about 15 to 20 kids, and so they will be taking those kids, they will be responsible for them going from place to place in the buses and things of that nature. And so they have their curriculum that they'll be doing. The beauty of it, it's always so funny, because the first day the kids meet all these kids from other places around the country, and they're like, they're weird. You see those kids from Michigan? You know, like they're just saying, it's so funny. And then by like, you know, Thursday, they're like, that's my friend, I got their snap, you know. So it really is camp-like in that way, if you've ever experienced that, where they're all kind of like, you know, measuring each other up, and then by the end they're like, I didn't want to leave them, I wish they would come with us, so, you know, that kind of thing. And so it is not in person, which I talked about, but then also there's ongoing learning opportunities. So your 8th graders are in a civics class. And in that civics class, which is something that all the different sections, there's different teachers of it. I teach one of the sections, and then Miss Cleveland teaches 2 of the other sections. But that is that ongoing curriculum that we're doing with them throughout the year. And then also that is incorporated into social studies for our gifted program. And so they're doing and talking about all these things throughout the school year, and that's leading up to the trip. Those of you that may not know, in the state of Arizona, they have to take a civics test. They have to take this test in high school that really just proves a basic knowledge of government and understanding. And so we get them prepped for that 8th grade, and then they do that when they're in high school. Okay, so Saturday, April 26th is when we will be in DC. The trip is really a 2-part. You'll see this, DC, Philadelphia. So those of you that are familiar, or your scholar went before, last year we went to Williamsburg, Virginia. So what happens is they're in DC from that Saturday to about Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we go to another location. So there's the option of either going to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Williamsburg, Virginia, or Gettysburg, Virginia. And they go and see like the Civil War battlefields and stuff. We tried all of them except for Gettysburg, just because that one's not as engaging. So it's like, oh, we're not going to do that. And so we don't do that one. But Williamsburg is the one we did in the past. And that one is, those of you not familiar, it's a historic colonial village. So everything is like it was back in colonial times. So like there's no electricity, there's no AC, there's candlelight for everything. So that was Williamsburg. But this year we're going to flip back to Philadelphia. So they'll go to Independence Hall, they'll go to Constitution Hall, they'll go see where Ben Franklin was, they'll go see where they watch all this they watch all these different things leading up to it that helps them know what exactly they're looking at, because they're not all sure. But Liberty Bell, all that good stuff is in Philadelphia. They get an authentic Philly cheesesteak. It's a whole big thing. But so we're going to be in Philadelphia this time for that day trip. Okay. So the other time we are in Washington D.C., but that one day we will take buses. We will drive. We'll be in Philadelphia that whole day, and then we'll drive back, and then we'll end our time in D.C. At a couple of the museums on that last day, that Thursday. Okay. There is an interactive focus. So for instance, let's say we go to the FDR memorials. Every one of the places that they go they're using that as a springboard to teach them something. So we go to the FDR memorial, the kids it's like, okay, I want you to talk about, FDR is known for giving us the New Deal, which then leads us to like the Disabilities Act and things like that he helped promote, right? So we'll talk about Social Security then. They'll talk about what it means for personal responsibility, that kind of thing. So they would have a time where they would tell them, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're here, this is what I want you to think about. Then they get to go explore a little bit, and then they come back and they regroup, and they can answer those questions and have that continuing conversation. So it's very interactive in that way. As I said, the workshops, they're about 15 to 20 generally. 25 is the most they would do, but generally it's 15 to 20. And so what happens is I pair your scholar up with at least one more scholar from our school, okay? So that everybody will have like their partner. All right. If we have an odd number, then there might be a group of 3 girls or boys, depending on if it's not, even. But everybody will have their partner. And so then you and your partner are put into a group with a bunch of other groups of 2 from the different schools that'll be on program with us that week. So last year we had schools from New York, Michigan, California, Florida, and then there was us. And so we were all at the same hotel. We're all mixed up in these groups, okay? So there'll always be, and I try to put them with a friend or somebody that they're comfortable with. And so they're in those groups of 2, and then they're in that bigger group of 15 to 20 with their close-up, and they're with them for the entire week, okay? So that's the group that they're going to be with. So they'll be in their rooms with GIA kids, only GIA kids. They won't be with other kids from other schools. And then when they come out, they go to breakfast, they'll be with their friends, meals, they'll probably be with their friends, and as far as from GIA. And then the rest of the time, they're in these groups with different kids from around the country, okay? Okay, so this is kind of small, but this is give you an example of a schedule that they might take. Now, I will tell you, it's always funny because I try to give updates where everybody's at. I'm like, we're here, we're doing this, pictures the whole time. And so the parents are more tired than the kids on Monday and Tuesday because I'm like blowing their phone up. There's a 3-hour time difference. So you're like, we're like, we've been here and here and here, and y'all are just getting up for coffee. But it literally is, I mean, they are moving so, like we're going. It's nonstop. And they are tired and they are, they're like, oh, my legs. I'm like, we should have been moving. We played all those video games. So this is a sample schedule of what this would look like, their week would look like. So for instance, we're going to be there on Saturday. We added an extra day because we take them to the Holocaust Museum. That's the goal. And then we go to the Holocaust Museum, and then we either go to the we either go to the African American Museum, or we go to the Air and Space. So it just depends. But that's what we do on the day where it's just GIA, it's just us hanging out with our kids and kind of exploring with them a little bit. But once they're on program, they check in their hotel, they have dinner, they have orientation, and then they have their first workshop, which kind of gets them thinking about what they're doing that week, and then we're just boom, 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 going to all the things. And so this is what their day looks like. They're going till about 9:30 every day. They will have 3 meals a day. But other than that, that's kind of what that will look like for them. And like I said, I will send all of this to you, but that's what their week looks like. Any questions about their week or what they're actually going to be doing while they're on the trip? Okay, all right, good. All right, so supervision and security. Our kids, like I said, the day where it's just GIA, so that's Saturday the 26th, it'll be our GIA students and the teachers, okay? And so we have to have a teacher for every 12 kids, okay? And so we'll be with them, they'll be in those groups, we'll be transporting them from place to place. They have a bus that we'll ride if we need to go anywhere that's beyond just like, down the street. And so we'll be doing that with them. But the rest of the time, they will be with that close-up representative, that person who's in charge of them for that time, okay? And the reason being for that is like we as teachers are around, but they're actually answering to the close-up person. So like we have a whole teacher program that we go on, okay? So we kind of jump back and forth on that. So like the teachers we'll still be in DC, like we'll still be in the area, but we might be at one museum and they might be giving us a different tour or a different thing because they're talking to us as teachers, helping us figure out how we can teach certain concepts to our kids or, add to the information, right? So then the kids are with their close-up person. Okay, and so they're with them. That person is CPR certified, first aid trained. They know they've gone through the criminal background checks. They're like basically they have more actually, even than just a teacher in a classroom that they have to go through before they can be in charge of the kids. Okay, so they're with them all throughout the day. And then, like I said, we're around, we see them. But because there's so many different groups and, kind of thing, we can't be with all the kids at all times. Does that make sense? So they're with their close-up person. That's who they answer to. That's whose phone number they're going to have. If they, were ever in trouble or whatever. They'll have our phone numbers as well, but that's who they're going to answer to. That's who they'll be with on program. There are also night monitors. So the kids are on different floors. So girls will be on one floor, boys will be on another floor in the hotel. And then there's a person that's literally doing they'll do their room check every night. About between like 9:30 and 10, they'll do room check. And then after room check is over, the kids cannot come out of their room anymore. They come out of their room, they'll send them home. Like it's very no nonsense. So if you feel like your child might want to test the rules, it's probably not the trip for them because they will send them home and you will pay for it. Okay? And you know how those tickets are. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you're questioning whether or not they're serious, they have a no-nonsense policy when it comes to those things, and you kind of understand why, right? You got all these middle schoolers running around. We can't have them doing things that could endanger them. So They do their room check, and then they cannot come out of their rooms anymore that night. If they have an emergency, there are personnel there on the floor all night, 24/7. They're there from 9:30 until 7 the next morning. And so they're walking the halls, they're making sure everybody's good, making sure if there's any emergency, the kids can come right out the door, and that person will be there and they can help them, okay? We will also be in the same hotel. The teachers will be in the same hotel as them. We'll be on a little bit different floor just because they try to keep all the kids on floors. So, they have the night monitors, they have the program staff, we have our schedules, everything's detailed. You realize this is just a big organization because we are one tour group organization. So we will go to a place and there could be like 4 different student tour groups there, different companies doing different things. So everybody has to submit their schedules, everybody has to make sure they run things through Capitol Police, everybody has to make sure that they're, we're all where we need to be at the right time, and they have to submit that ahead of time, okay? And so all of that's there. The kids wear their name tags. They have to wear that the whole time. On the back of their name tags, it also has emergency contact information. If there's anything specific to them, like if they have a severe allergy or a problem, that'll all be on there. And they have to have that on at all times. The minute they come out of their room, it has to be on. And so that's something that they don't mess around about either. And it also has cell phone numbers and things on there of emergency contacts should they ever find themselves lost or whatever else, but they'll always have that. They do work with Georgetown University Children's Medical Center. So something you will do once it gets closer to time, I will give you a medical form. You will have to fill out the front and the back with their basic information, as well as I will get a picture of your insurance card. So that way, if there is an emergency, we take them, they've got everything at least to be able to do whatever they need to do to save them, to help them, until obviously we will be able to get you there and all that good stuff. And if there's ever even if they're just like a little bit like, oh, I think, I don't really feel good. They call us. And they're like, hey, so-and-so said they don't feel good. And then we're right there. And they get us there to them. So there's never really anything like that. I made quite a few trips to CVS because, they eat junk. And then they're like, my stomach hurts. I bet it does. 5 bags of Takis, 2 bags of gummy bears, a Mountain Dew. But anyways, so they do have them on staff, the nurse, and we have a Georgetown personnel nurse. They're on site always in the hotel, and then they're on call with us, and they have our schedules so that way if ever there's an emergency, they can come to our aid, okay? And then the close-up has a program person who's in charge of everything for that week at that hotel, and then they have like 2 to 3 people under them, and then they have like 4 people under them, and then there's the actual staff that's with your kids. So there's plenty of people that they could call that will give assistance, that will help. They get all of our cell phone numbers, and so if there's ever an issue, they will call us, and we'll support them if that is necessary. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't want to scare anybody, but I just do want to be upfront about the risk that there is with that. Your children do have to listen to them. They do have to pay attention. They can't wander off. If they say, hey, we're meeting right here, if your child doesn't listen and doesn't go where they're supposed to be, if they don't stay with their partner, if they don't stay with their buddy, if they, veer off from the group because they just want to go check out something, that is something that has to be talked about with your scholar because that is very serious. And if they do something like that, they will send them home. There's not going to be any questions. They're not going to be like, hey, next time. No, you're going home because you're not listening. It's very, very serious, their safety. And so there is that level. Like one day we go to the mall because there's food courts. So their meals are all included in the price that you're paying. You don't have to spend, the only thing that you would send money with them once you paid this price is if you wanted to send spending money with them, or if you needed to check a bag. Okay, so like if you don't want to do a carry-on, a lot of the kids do carry-ons, but if you want to check a bag and then if you want to give them spending money, that's the only other additional money that you would need for them once you paid for the trip. Everything else is included. Their security, their travel, their lodging, their airplane ticket, the actual program tuition costs, and then 3 meals a day, and as well as their snacks and stuff, because I buy a ton of snacks because I know they need it. So we get all that sent to the hotel beforehand. They kind of know us now. They're like, oh, your snacks are here. When I walked in this year, I was like, okay. So anyways, any questions about the supervision and security part of it? Yes.
So how many kids do you put per room? I'm sorry, I don't know if you said that already.
No, I didn't. We haven't. But so we'll do 4. So there's 4 to a room. So, and I will take any requests that you guys have. So like if you're like, hey, I want my kids with this person, or I don't want them with this person, I will ask you for those requests, and I'll try my best to honor those. And if for some reason, we'll work it out. But yeah, so there'll be 4. So there'll be 2 GIA kids and the 2 GIA kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, only GIA kids in the rooms. Yeah, only kids they're familiar with and they know in the rooms. Any questions about any of that other stuff? Okay, all right, moving right along. Okay, so we kind of went over this, but I just want to make sure, once again, so the $500 non-refundable deposit, okay? $500 non-refundable, that is due November 21st, November 21st. So if you want your child to go on the trip, okay, I would like a decision from you by next week, okay? But you're not committed until the 21st. Does that make sense? Okay, everybody with me? And I just want to know so I can start planning, because we haven't decided which teachers and people are going, and a lot of that depends on the number of kids that are going. So I would like to know next week, but if you're like, hey, I think we're going to go, then just go ahead and tell me yes, because you can always back out. And it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, you told me you were coming. No, it's okay. Nothing's set in stone until the 21st, and you pay that $500. Okay, all right. So even if you're like, yes, but you know in your mind there's a caveat, that's okay. Just go ahead and tell me yes, so that way I can go ahead and get your account set up and you can get moving, because I don't want you to have to wait for any of that. So the student cost is $2,356. Now, a big portion of that is their airline ticket, if I'm being honest. Like that's the big, so their program tuition, so how much it costs for them to actually go and all the people that are involved in that. And then their airline ticket is probably the biggest. I can give you a breakdown of that if you want that. I can send that to you. If you're like, I want to see exactly what's going on, I can do that. But I will tell you, for everything that they're getting and everything that includes, it's a fair price for what's going on right now. So the way ticket prices are, the way hotels are, because you're thinking they're getting a hotel every night. That's pretty much what it is for that many days and that many nights and 3 meals a day. Okay. And that includes, like I said, transportation to and from everywhere we go. We're in a bus everywhere all the time. And then when we go to Philadelphia, all of that's included in that price, okay? And then, like I said, we'll talk about travel insurance. You can purchase that on your own if you want to. I mean, that's just up to you. It depends. It's up to you and your comfort level. But that is that. So that is due non-refundable. So once you pay that $500, you can cancel after that, but you cannot get that $500 back. Okay, everybody understand that? So even if you're like, yes, we're going, you pay the $500, and then maybe January hits and something happens and you can't go, you can't get the $500 back. Okay, so please just know that. So I will tell you what my way of kind of getting around that is to make you maybe rest a little bit easier, so you have a little bit more wiggle room, because once you pay that $500 deposit, I don't need any more money from you until March 17th. Okay, so you can make payments every month, and you can do it however you want to, as little or as much a month as you want from that point on, but you don't have to add any more to their account until the 17th. So you don't even have to worry about having to get refunds and all that. So if you want to just wait and do it then, you can. The only thing I have to have, and that's so they can get airline tickets and stuff taken care of, so that's why they have that first deposit, okay? But $500, I need that by the 21st. Other than that, you don't need to do any more money until the 17th. You can do as much or as little as you want, okay? Everything is online, so you don't make payments to us as a school. Once I get that form from you and you tell me you're going, I go in, I register your scholar, I make them an account. You're going to get an account number, and you'll get just a generic password, and then you can go in and create your own. Please know that I have access to the passwords, so if your password is something that you don't want other people to know, then don't put that there. And they do that just because people get locked out all the time, and so like I have to print it out, like here's your login information. So. So, so you're like, this is my password to everything. I'm not going to check it, but just so you know, I like to be transparent. Each student will get their account, and you can give that account number and that password to anybody you want to put money on their account. Okay, so That's another reason why I would say make it something generic, because nobody can take money out of it. Does that make sense? They can only add to it. So I say make it generic, so that way if anybody wants to come in, they want to add some money to their account, you can just give them the username and password, and then they can go on and you don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it, you don't have to get any money from anybody, okay? So you will go there, and then they'll have waivers that you have to follow. So there's a COVID waiver, which basically just says like what their policy is for it. And then there is the enrollment form that just they need all of your scholar's info on the enrollment form. And that's always a thing, because because they use that for the airlines. And so sometimes parents get confused and they put their info, and I'm like, they were not born in 1983. Like they are in 8th grade. So just remember all the information, just read it and make sure if it's scholar, you put their name and their info, because that'll be what they use to get the airline ticket. And if it's incorrect, then that'll cause problems later on and we have to pay to fix it and all that good stuff. I mean, we'll know before we get to the airport, but we'll have to pay to fix it. So please make sure that's accurate. And then, you'll do the enrollment form, you'll sign the COVID waiver and all that good stuff, and then they'll be good to go as far as that. So that's all needs to be done when that $500 deposit is due. Yes?
Is there any paperwork, like birth certificate or anything that you need to take with them? Or
No.
to the airport?
Mm-mm. Because they will be considered I say unaccompanied minors. They won't be accompanied by me, but they're unaccompanied minors. So then, as long as we have our ID and they're with us, then they don't need everything. The only thing they'll have them come up, and then they'll be like, "What's your name and your birthday?" And then they tell them that, and then that's it. So yeah, yes.
As far as these forms, can you see more what do you have to agree to for COVID?
So basically, they just say like, "Hey, that you're willing to come if they decide that it's like severe enough for you to be there, but you have to do that at your own money." So that's why they make you sign that. Yeah. And it was different too before, when it was like, fresh. I don't know how to say it, but before, when that was over, then if they got COVID, you had to fly and you had to go get them and you had to be with them and you had to pay if they had to stay in a hotel longer and all that, because they couldn't travel if they had COVID because the airlines wouldn't let them, So it was a lot more convoluted. So now it's not that way. It's just basically like, hey, if this happens, this is what we're going to do and this is what you'll have to do in the event of emergency or something like that.
But so can we go online and look at these?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You'll be able to look at all of this before you make payments and all that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. No worries about that. Mm-hmm. You won't have to add any money until you are sure. But make sure you know before the 21st. Okay. Any questions about any of this info? They do strongly recommend travel insurance. I hate not to tell you not to worry about it, but I don't think anybody's ever bought it. So, but that's totally up to you because it's your money, okay? So please know that's not me saying she said we didn't need it. I did not say that. I just said nobody would pass it. Okay. And then you can do automatic payment plans. You can set that up. And then sometimes when you do the automatic payment plan, they do have it set up to where, like if they know that it's coming out automatically, like if for instance, you needed a little bit more room on that March date, okay? If you were doing the automatic payment plan, then they might just be like, okay, we know it's coming, so it's okay. Does that make sense? So if you ever need a deadline extension, they have people for you to contact that are like, it'll put it on the Close Up website like, hey, if you have any financial questions or any need help or assistance or whatever, then they have the number. Call them, because I'm just going to call them for you. So like if you tell me like, hey, I need you to do the deadline, then I'll email them, but it's literally doing the same thing, and you can just get that direct information without having to wait for me. So. Keep in mind they are an East Coast company, so there is a little bit of there's a 3-hour time difference. So if you do need to call or if you have something to take care of and you need to talk to somebody on the phone, just keep that in mind. Okay, any questions about any of this? Okay, all right. Cancellation policy. So the $500 is non-refundable. So you do that, that's not coming back. But let's say that you did the $500 and then you were adding money onto the account after that. If you want to cancel after that, after you've added more money other than the $500 and you want to cancel, you need to do that by the 30th of January. At that point, you can get all the money back minus the $500. Okay? So like if you were like, I did the $500 and then you just were adding stuff on there after that, that would be the date that you need to cancel in order to get the refund minus that $500. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Okay. This is where you can get more information. So once you go to closeup.org, and you can do this tonight, and if you have questions and stuff, email me, let me know. But you can go there. They have a parent section where you can go and just kind of get those frequently asked questions. They have program prep. They go really into detail with their safety, security stuff. They have schedules that you can look at to kind of see what's going on. They'll have the account summary, so you can see who's paid what and all that good stuff. And then your child's individual account, all of that starts with closeup.org. So just really simple, closeup.org, go there. And you can look right now, if you want to, you can look right now and just kind of see what's on the website and kind of see what other schools have done or what things look like. But you won't have your child's individual account until next week. So I'm giving everybody until next Wednesday to kind of let me know where you're at with this, and then I'll set up the accounts. And the only reason I do that is because if you decide not to go, then I have to cancel your account, and it's like a whole thing. So I try not to set them up until I know, like, yeah, you're pretty sure you're going. Okay. So I'll give you that account information as soon as those are set up. More than likely, that'll probably be the end of next week, early week. I would say early that last week of August, probably. But the earliest, the end of next week, you'll get that info if you do decide that you want your child to go on the trip. And then you'll be able to access their account and do whatever you need to do. Okay. Any questions about that? They do have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Like if you just kind of want to see, student stuff or pictures that they put up, or just, get more of a feel for things. They do have those accounts and things, so you can check that out. And then what will happen is I will have a remind channel. I will have a remind channel that you guys will get access to, and it'll only be for 8th grade DC, and I'll post updates and information and all of that stuff on there. And that's how I'll be communicating with you. You'll all have our cell phone numbers, all of that stuff. So like I said, for instance, I would have 10 kids assigned to me, okay? So all of those 10 kids, I will make sure all of those parents that represent those children have my contact info, and I have their contact info, okay? And so if there were concerns or whatever, then you would just message me. But then the remind is just for pictures and all that, because I'm just going to do that one place because my phone can't handle all that memory. So, so that's how we do that. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. So fundraising. Okay, so there is a limited amount that they offer every school for financial aid. And so the reason I put the free and reduced, so if you fill out lunch application and you're free and reduced, then that might mean you're able to get access to more financial aid from them. Okay, but if you need that financial aid, just message me, email me, let me know. I'll have a form that you will fill out. I'll email it to you, and then they'll let me know how much aid I'm able to give you. Okay. I will say generally it's not going to be more than $500 generally. Okay. But that is available if that's something that you are interested in. Donations are tax deductible, so if you know a company or people that are like, hey, I know a company that's like, I need to donate or give money or whatever, they can contribute that to Close Up. They can give that donation, and we can direct it to your specific scholar. Okay. So if you know somebody that's like, hey, they want to donate, just let me know, and then when that does get donated to our school through the Close Up organization, I can make sure it goes to your child, and we'll work all that out. And then they do have some corporate matching and things like that. You'll have this link because I'll send this to you in email, so if you want to check that out. The biggest thing, though, this is the most important, tax credits are your friend. So for those of you that don't know, I feel like we talk about it all the time, but for those of you that don't know, you as an individual can donate $200 as an individual to the school. When you donate that to the school, okay, when you file your state taxes, you can get that $200 back in your state tax return, okay? All right, so if you are filing jointly, then you could do up to $400. You can do it once in a calendar year, okay? So I always tell parents, if you're like, I think I want my kid to go to DC, but you probably need a little bit more flexibility, or you're like, I don't know, I don't want to lose $500, I don't want them to change their mind, I don't want to change my mind, then I would say use the tax credit to pay for that $500. So as a couple, you could do $400, okay? You come into the school, you tell them, hey, I want to donate, I want to do the tax credit. They'll give you a form to fill out, you give them that money, and then on there it'll ask you what it's for, who it's for, and then we will add that to their account, okay? And then when you file your state taxes, you can get that money back. So that way you're not losing anything. And that just makes that a little bit easier for people who are like, I don't know. And you can do that, yes.
And is it scholar specific or is it to the whole?
No, it's scholar specific. Yeah, unless you don't want it to be, but it'll be scholar specific. And that's any Arizona resident can do that. So if you have family that want to contribute to the trip, they can do up to 200. They don't have to do a full 200, but they can do up to 200. Single, and then they can do, as a couple, they can do 400. Yes?
And then businesses can do more. So
Yep.
a family business or something, they can donate. I forget how much. But they
Yeah,
can
I don't know what the number is. Yeah.
deductible is even more than.
Yeah. So, so that would be my biggest thing for everybody is just go ahead and do that, because you can do that now because we're still in if you haven't done it already for something else, because we're still in 2024. You can do it now, pay that, get that taken care of, and then you can do it again in January and get that added to your account too. So that's $800 right there if you're a couple, and then that's $400 if you're single. So that's an easy way to get some of that just kind of taken care of. Yes.
Is there a limit for the tax credits? Like, is there a certain?
You mean like people?
Yeah.
No. So any Arizona resident can give up to $200 by themselves. It doesn't matter. Now, like I said, they can only do it once in a calendar year. But if you have like 20 people in your family and they each want to give 100, have them do it, and then they get that back. And know it's a win-win. So I always tell people, I'm like, people, like, hey, if everybody, like, don't give them any birthday presents or any Christmas presents. I'm just kidding. But you like give them $100, go up to the school, do a tax credit, and they'll take care of that. They have to be an Arizona resident though for that that tax credit thing for them to be able to get that back in their income tax. So if you have out-of-state family, then you would just tell them to contribute, but they wouldn't get that back. Does everybody understand that? Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
For the tax credit, is it going to be card, cash, or check for?
Yeah, yeah. It can be card. We'll take whatever money you want to give, however you want to give it. But yeah, and the paper, it'll ask you like if it's scholar specific or if you're just given to a program or something like that. So that's a really easy way to get your family involved and just kind of get that taken care of. So, any questions on that? Yes.
So if we donate to the school, how does it go into that?
Say it again. So what happens is it'll just say our business manager's name. So whenever we get those tax credit donations, we try to do it at one time just so it's easier for our accountant. So you might not see it right away, but we'll make sure it gets there by the deadline. But it'll go to us, and then we just pay it with our school like credit card, business account, or whatever. Yeah. And so it'll say Roger Messer on it. They're like, oh, the Messers donated. Somebody said that one year. They're like, oh, the Messers donated to my trip. Miss Pam's like, I don't think so. She's like, maybe my husband did. I'm like, no. He's just the business manager. Okay, any other questions about that? Okay, tax credit is your friend. That's the first thing that I would say to use. I do have some forms that you can use. Like if you need a letter for businesses, I do have a form letter that you can use, and you can input your scholar's name and information. So if you want that, just send me an email. I'll get it to you. I do have, it's like a pledge sheet that you can do, and you can say, hey, I need 40 family members to give $40 or whatever. So if you want something like that and then make your scholar kind of do that work, I can give you that as well. They do have a link for you to do like a not a GoFundMe, but like a Facebook fundraiser thing. I forget what it's called. But anyways, there's different things like that they have with their like brand and stuff on it. So that way people know you're not just, asking for stuff just because you want it. It's for your child's actual trip. So you can take that. And as far as the school, so chocolate bars will be here next week. And so they can sell the chocolate bars. So you buy the box of chocolate from us, because we buy it from them. So you buy it from us, and then you sell all those bars, and you get whatever money that comes back from that. You get that, and then you put that on account as you see fit. Okay. Now this one, I'm still trying to work this out because it used to be the box cost us $30. And then there's 60 bars in there, so you get the 30 you spent and then an extra 30. But they told me this year that the boxes are $37. So I'm trying to figure out if we can still charge you 30 because we sell so many in the front office, and that usually compensates for that cost of what we sell. But I want to make sure before I promise that. So when those get here, when those chocolate boxes get here, I'll send you guys an email and say, hey, they're here. You can come pick them up, purchase, and then you can sell them. But you don't need to give the school any money other than purchasing that box of chocolate, and then that's all yours, and whatever you make from that, that's you, and that goes on your account. I'm not touching it. I don't need to see it, which is one of my favorite things about this, because I don't want to deal with the money. I hate money. So that's that. So the chocolate bars will be here, and I'll email you guys when they get delivered, and you'll know you can pick those up. I do other fundraisers, like school-wide, and actually on the form that you're going to fill out, I ask if you want to do those, because I know not everybody's about that, and I totally get it. Not that you don't want the money from fundraising, but it's just another thing to think about, and I totally get that. So if you don't want to be involved in that, then you can let me know on that form, so that way I can just make sure whatever fundraising efforts just go to the people who need it or want it, and then that way I don't have to keep bothering you with extra emails you don't need. We do a popcorn one. That was a really good one. The kids sold a lot for that one, and that one's like scholar specific. So fundraisers, I try to do as many fundraisers that will just go to your child. Does that make sense? Because what I want is to go to the kids who are working for it, right? And then we'll have like the sweetheart dance and different things like that on campus that will get split up between everybody who helps out with it. So if your scholar's there and they're volunteering and they're helping, then they get put, their names get put, and then I split that money up between the scholars who actually helped. But if your scholar's not here and they're not helping, they don't get any of that. So this is the way that goes. The other thing is all of our food fundraisers. So if it's at a restaurant, like if we're doing a Panda Express night or Chipotle night or whatever, all that just goes into the 8th grade pot, and then we separate that between all the kids. And then like the chocolate boxes we sell at the front office, if we have whatever money we make from that, we separate that between the kids and stuff like that too. So, any questions about that? So if your children have been getting chocolate every day for the last few years, they've been helping an 8th grader go to DC. You too can sponsor an 8th grader for a $1 chocolate bar. But yeah, so that's kind of how that works. So we will do as much fundraising as you guys want to, because I want them to be able to go, and I know that this is not, you know, it's got money just laying around like this. So, and even if you do, you don't necessarily want to spend it on this. So I totally get that. So I'm happy to help and make that happen. So you just let me know on that intent form if you're about that, and then we'll make it happen. Any other questions, concerns about that? Fundraising. Okay. And then, like we already talked about this, but just so you know, this is what's included in that price. So your round trip airfare, academic materials, hotel accommodations, snack or meals, and then snacks too. In-town transportation, 24-hour supervision, all their admissions fees for all the different places we're going to go, because you know that starts to add up. Tips, gratuities for restaurant, things like that. That medical coverage, and then they get like a backpack, a water bottle, and a group photo that's theirs when they leave. And so that's everything that's included in that price. So if you're curious or you want to know, like I said, I can send that breakdown if you want it even broken down even further. But that's that. Okay, questions? Anybody got questions about anything? I know I gave you a lot of info. There's even more than that. This was the short version. So no, but I just want to make sure you can make an informed decision in what you're doing. Yes.